The sun dipped below the horizon. The sky turned a deep blood orange. The village of Rampur slumbered, except for old Mahesh. He tilled his small field, sweat drying on his brow. Crickets chirped. A lone owl hooted. Mahesh wiped his brow and looked towards home. It was time for dinner. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes. Mahesh turned, his hand on his sickle. A small goat kid, white as milk, emerged. The kid bleated, a thin, reedy sound that echoed through the quiet village. It was a sound of distress, a call for help that tugged at the heartstrings of anyone who heard it. It stumbled towards Mahesh, its eyes wide and afraid, as if the world around it was too big and too frightening. The little goat seemed lost and confused, unsure of where to go or what to do. Lost, little one. Mahesh bent down, offering the back of his hand to sniff. He spoke gently, trying to calm the frightened animal. His voice was soft, filled with concern and kindness. The kid licked his hand and let out a soft "baa," a sound that seemed to say thank you. It was a moment of connection, a brief respite from the fear and confusion that had gripped the little goat. Mahesh looked around. There was no sign of any other goats. The village was quiet and the fields were empty. It was as if the little goat had appeared out of nowhere, a lost soul in need of help. "Where did you come from, little one?" he muttered, more to himself than to the goat. He wondered how such a small creature could have ended up alone. The kid just nuzzled his hand, urging him towards the forest edge. It seemed to know where it wanted to go, and Mahesh decided to follow, hoping to find the answers to the questions that filled his mind. Mahesh hesitated. He had heard the stories, the warnings about the forest after dark. The forest was a dark place after sunset. Shadows seemed to stretch and twist, creating eerie shapes that played tricks on the mind. Stories whispered of evil spirits and strange happenings. The villagers spoke in hushed tones about those who ventured in and never returned. Still, he couldn't leave the kid. The small goat had wandered too far, and Mahesh felt a strange responsibility towards it. He followed it towards the trees, each step heavier than the last, his heart pounding in his chest. As they neared the shadows, the kid stopped. It was as if an invisible barrier held it back. It turned to Mahesh, and its eyes began to glow a malevolent red. The sight sent chills down his spine. The kid's bleat became a guttural growl. The sound was unnatural, echoing through the silent forest, its small body twisted, elongating, fur darkening. The transformation was both mesmerizing and horrifying. Mahesh stumbled back, fear gripping his heart. He had never seen anything like this before. This was no ordinary goat. It was something far more sinister, something out of the darkest of nightmares. The creature lunged from the shadows, its eyes glowing with a sinister light. Mahesh screamed, dropping his sickle, and ran faster than he had in years. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing the terror that gripped him. He didn't look back, but he could hear the creature's rasping breaths behind him, growing louder with each passing second. The forest seemed to close in around him, branches clawing at his clothes. He burst into the village, panting and shouting, his voice hoarse from fear. The villagers turned, their faces etched with concern and confusion. Villagers gathered, armed with sticks and scythes, their eyes scanning the dark edges of the village for any sign of the creature. They had heard tales, but never had they faced such a threat. But the creature was gone, vanished into the night as if it had never been there. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl. Only Mahesh's story remained, a chilling tale whispered around fires. The villagers huddled close, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames, listening intently to every word. And in the forest the wind seemed to sigh, carrying the echo of a goat's bleat. Or was it a growl? The night held its breath, as if waiting for the next chapter of the tale to unfold.